Hey, this Omar just on here real quick recapping the 49ers versus the Raiders. You know, definitely one of the games of the year. It was it was a lot of good, you know. Um the dude on the screen, man, he been playing lights out. This was one of the games where he kind of really had to he wasn't really being a game manager, and so it was good to see, man. He can make a lot of the throws. You know what I'm saying? So they could kind of let the handcuffs off of him because he could really ball though. He shown pretty good poise on the road. Especially within the past. You know, since he's been starting, let's just say that. The Raiders, once again they choke up another game, that they could have won. So Stidham, he kind of played better than expected. And so I'm kind of seeing, if you really looking like from a football lens, what's the recipe to kind of move the ball versus the 49ers defense. And I think you gonna have to have a solid tight end. You're gonna have to have a solid tight end. You're going to have uh, a running back that's that's serviceable, and you definitely gonna have to have a solid receiver. You feel me? Like the Raiders was able to move the ball at will because even though the Raiders got a losing record, they should have won a lot of games that they lost. So their record definitely could have easily flipped the other way. But the fact that when Waller came back, you got an all pro tight end, and then you got of course, a Hall of Fame wide receiver on the outside, and then you got Josh Jacobs having a monster year. And so with that, it's and then if you a good play caller, you can create a lot of mismatches against a stout defense. And the only other team that's been able to just move the ball at will, where you can score like 20 plus points was KC. KC got Kelsey, you got Mahomes, right? And then Mahomes can kind of like um create stuff, openings for his wide receivers. His wide receivers wasn't A1, but they, because of his, how he can move and finesse the pocket, is he can they can they I mean, and then Andy Reid is a great play caller, so he knows how to expose uh teams that have good defense because he's played a lot of good defenses throughout the years, you know what I'm saying? So he was able to kind of like give you a blueprint on like how you supposed to come into 49ers because everybody was just saying like, yeah, hands down, 49ers is just gonna represent the NFC. But if you really look at it, all the top dudes, Philly, Minnesota, Dallas, all of them could come with this same game plan. So if they had any kind of sense, they really need to just look at the KC game and look at the KC game and then look at the this game right here. And then you could see like, you got some openings in that defense, right? Like at first I didn't think it because I thought the KC game was just a fluke joint because yeah, that's KC, that's Mahomes, and you don't see them. But then today, as you see them, you say, okay, yeah, you do got some openings out there on that defense. If you like I said, if you a creative play caller, you know what I'm saying. So um, give props to the Raiders. Like they always come with it. You know what I'm saying. I think the next year will be their year where they gonna be like this year's version of Minnesota, where like last year Minnesota was the team that lost all those close games, and then they got rid of the coach, and they put they got the different coach in there, and they were able to make the plays that they didn't make last year. I think the Raiders next year probably is going to be that team to do that because they got too much talent, especially on offense. The defense, especially their secondary, is pretty young, and so they got the experience of this year. They gonna have a couple of people that they're gonna want to come play in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? So if they can get like maybe one or two all pros that can show up that defense, then they can easily switch their record. You know what I'm saying? Like me personally, I never thought they should have got rid of their coach, but they did, especially for somebody like Josh McDaniel, who's like overrated in my eyes. But I mean, it is what it is. But you go and you look, Stidham, he had a good game. He had 365, 23 completions, 34 attempts, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 108 passer rating. I mean, and you got. I'm not going to minimize that shit. You did that versus 49ers defense. That's like saying a lot. You know what I'm saying? Third down efficiency. The 49ers was 4 of 8, 50%, and Raiders was 4 of 10. You know what I'm saying? So they was 40%. They both had the same amount of plays. 62 49ers, Raiders had for 66. Total yards, it was 500 for the Raiders, 454 for the 49ers, and stuff like that. Penalties, it was not, Raiders always gonna have a shit ton of penalties. But 49ers they had a ton of penalties, 9 of 71 for 71, and the Raiders only had 6 for 49. And then the time possession was a wash. It was 32 for the Raiders and 31 for the 49ers. So then you look at the other stats that was key, and I'm talking in the sense of just going up against the 49ers defense. Jacobs didn't really run the ball that well, but as a team, they got 135 on 32 carries and had a 4-yard carry. Stidham, he had 7 carries for 34, and Bolden, he had 8 for 32. Jacobs had 17 for 69 and 1 touchdown. But that's a lot of fucking yards, man, that they got. Like they ran the ball for as a team for 135, and then they threw the ball for 365. So that's really a recipe for a dub, you know what I'm saying? But they had the ball in overtime. Bosa blew the tackle up. He throw the interception. Had they possibly the way the momentum swung, the Raiders probably could have at least drove down the field and kicked the field goal. You know what I'm saying? But that play kind of was like the really the key as far as like the game or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Devontae, he had 7 for 153, 2 touchdowns. Waller had 3 for 72 and 1 touchdown. And so that's it right there. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you got Minnesota with JJ, and then you got Hawkinson and you got Cook. They really just gotta look at this game right here, and they can probably expose a lot of shit on as far as they defense. You feel me? Like, a lot of people were saying like they defense going to just house everybody, but Philly got the same thing. They got Goddard. He came back. You got Goddard, AJ Brown, or Devontae, either one of them. So you got two solid dudes, and then you got Miles Sanders or whatever, and then you got Hurts running the ball. So it's like the 49ers ain't gonna just be able to do to everybody what they were able to do. I think it's personnel, and you got to have good quarterback play mainly. Good quarterback play and good play calling. That's the main thing that's going to kind of like get the 49ers or whatever. But you go down, Raiders didn't have no sacks, 3 QB hits, and they only had 1 interception. That was a solid ass game. Like the game looked like the Raiders should have won the game, but the Raiders do Raiders shit. You know what I'm saying? Purdy, but you gotta respect him, man. Like he done came as a rookie, 7th rounder, and he just make plays. You know what I'm saying? He had 284 yards, 22 completions, 35 attempts, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That interception was he didn't really had to throw that, but he was kind of like just trying to make something happen, and so he underthrew Kittle, and then that was the only bad play that he made. C Mac, he had 19 for 121 and a touchdown. As a team, they ran for 27, 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. So that was pretty solid. Ayuku's been stepping up since Debo ain't been out there. He caught 9 for 101 and 1 touchdown. Kittle had 4 for 23 and 1 touchdown. C Mac, he also had so he had 200 yards or almost 200 yards. He had six receptions, 72 yards. And so shit, what you would say is if Debo out there is they a different mob, but while he's not out there, they a little bit vulnerable, you know what I'm saying? They still gonna make, call certain plays and they get you gotta appreciate the play caller Kyle Shanahan, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's good at, like exposing this or exposing this. Most weeks he can really call his offense and for the most part it's gonna work, because of and I think mainly because the addition to C-Mac, made it so much so, and then the fact that they got Kittle back and they not working with the backup tight end. So now that you got Kittle and then you got C-Mac, who's a excellent pass catcher, out the backfield, and then he runs the ball, like he runs like he's bigger than what he is, you know what I'm saying? And so he blended right into that system. And so you can see like when, he runs the ball, I saw a few plays where he kind of like roughed somebody, and I was like, yo, Slim Dry tried to truck the dude. And I mean, he ain't dry try, he actually did that. So you go to the defense, Bosa didn't get no sacks, but he kind of was making a ton of plays. Fred Warner was making, a lot of plays. He had 12 tackles or whatever. Interceptions, Gibson had one, and Drake Jackson had one. But it's a like I said, it's a wait. It's a wait. You know what I'm saying? Like this game right here is gonna be the blueprint. And so after this game, I think all the NFC games, especially when they get to the divisional round, all of them should be pretty tight. I don't foresee any kind of blowouts or whatever. But I mean, it is possible. But I just think that because they're all so evenly matched up, as far as like it's just gonna be like who grabs the momentum in each game or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you give props to the 49ers, man. Shit, they 12-4. They they solid, you know what I'm saying? And it's gonna be curious to see how next weekend play out, because there's a lot of 12-4s, you know, there's a lot of 12 and 4 teams. And so it's a loss here, loss there. Like Philly, if they go and lose, Dallas could slip up and win the division and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they all got a lot to play for and stuff. And so usually the last week is a lot of teams that don't got much to play for, but everybody still got a lot on the table. So it's definitely gonna be curious to see how all this shake out. But 49 definitely showed that they a legit threat. Um, they gonna be a problem for anybody, and you just want to now it's about that first weekend to see, okay, who they gonna match up with. Is the 49ers gonna be a 3 seed and they face a 6, and then what the 6 might be um the Giants or whatever, and then what the Cowboys, if they don't win the division, they gonna be a 5 and they gonna face the Bucks. and the Bucks look pretty damn good today. So that first weekend, the wild card weekend, should be good though. Like it should be real good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like get a ton of ratings. Like last year got some good ratings, but I think this year probably get even more because all the teams is more parity this year. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. But thanks for listening tonight.